Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome you to this special day that we have here, welcoming our new intern and having a pitch in. This is going to be a great day. If you will, please turn off your cell phones or put them on airplane mode so that we can get out to everybody. We're going to start by singing worship and song, number 158. God of grace and God of glory. When I'm up here, I always like to see what kind of a, special day it is in the world or something. Well, this is National Grandparents' Day, and I think we all may not be grandparents, but we all have grandparents, so it's a good day to appreciate them. I'll talk about that in a minute. This is also, and Linda, I thought of you, a National Hug Your Hound Day. and a National Dog Walker Appreciation Day. So there you go, right there. And a National Iguana Awareness Day. Now, I don't know if any of us are involved in that, but that's what it is. And it's also a pardon day. So if you have a trouble with anybody and you want to go up and say, excuse me for what I've done, this is the day to do it. There are 6 more days. I mean, it's amazing how many days we can get. But I think the National Grandparents Day is something to really hold in our hearts. Jimmy Carter signed this in September of 1979. I guess that's why I didn't grow up with having Grandparents Day, because he just signed it into being in 79. That was the year I became a mother, though, that Donna and I became parents. So our parents became grandparents on that day, or that year. I have 4 grandparents, 3 of which I knew because one had died before I was born. And so of the 3 that I had that I knew very well, one was very dear to me. He was my mother's father, and we lived with him for a little bit. And I don't remember anything that I learned from him, but I just realized the good feeling that he gave me. And I think that's what we don't have to teach kids all the time, but we just need to be there for them. But I think especially today, I'm going to rename this day. This is going to be Fairfield's Day of Welcoming Our New Intern. So we will hear from Jackson later. But as we think on things, let's think about our grandparents and Jackson. It is now time for our announcements. We will go to the people on Zoom first. And please give your names if you're, so everybody knows who you are. I see Teresa waving her hand.
Yeah, let me go first. Hi, this is Teresa, and I'm just have a reminder that this month is our Family Promise Support Food Month, and I hung a schedule or a sign-up sheet on the way in the meeting house on the way to the kitchen for anybody who wants to sign up to bring food for the resource center or evening meals for the Almost Home shelter. We don't have the exact count because people are always moving in and out of the shelter, but we do have one person, Sue Walton, said that she would be glad to partner with someone on a meal. So if you ever wanted to partner with someone, Sue is available, and try to make that connection. Just keep me posted. Let me know who wants to do what. Looking forward to your help. Thank you.
And thank you, Teresa, for organizing everything. Any other people on Zoom? Okay, is there anyone in the meeting house with an announcement?
Yeah, Ann Tarvin. I'm going to be the announcement queen this month because there's so much going on. As most of you know, we have a pitch-in dinner today, and I haven't been out there for 15 minutes, so I'm sure the kitchen is twice as full as it was when I left. Anybody that forgot about it or anybody that didn't know about it, why, feel free to stay, because I know there will be plenty. There was plenty when I left 15 minutes ago. Okay, that takes care of this week. Next week, I'm going to try to get this right. I told you we'd get mixed up, and you'll notice it took me about a half an hour to correct my first email. So next week in chat room, we have a Family Promise program to update us on everything they've been doing, which is quite a lot. And that's at 9:30. So that's next week. Let's see, what is next week? It's the 15th, right? Also next week, downtown is the Festival of Faith. We will be sharing a booth with the other Quakers in the area. So we need people to come down and just stand around the booth a little while and talk to anybody that comes by. And then you can twirl yourself around the area and see the rest of them. It's free. It is a most marvelous thing. They have just about any religion you can think of that's anywhere near Indianapolis is represented with lovely displays and people wanting to talk about it, and you can pick up all kinds of wonderful literature. If you go to the sick booth, you can get your head wrapped in a turban usually. I assume they're doing that again this year. So it's a fun day. So that's downtown 1 to 5 in the afternoon at University Park. Is that right? I think so. Yeah. So anybody wants to come down and stand around and be an official Quaker for a little while, that's fine. Don't have to be a member to be an official Quaker at the booth. Anita? Yep.
Anita Kamick. To add to Ann's list, next Sunday is meeting for business. But Randy let me know that we may be starting just a little bit early, so the goal will be to start, what's that? Well, late. The opposite of early. Start late, around 12:30 will be the goal. And then I did want to just make one other thing. I think Josai had made an announcement in my absence last week, so thank you, Josai, for that. And I just saw the beautiful compost bins this morning, and I'm very excited. So with September being so busy, we're probably going to be looking at maybe sometime in October. No promises, but maybe the first weekend in October for a little bit of a presentation. And I just want to do a really quick, no commitments or anything, just a really quick show of hands. Who might be interested in just learning about the compost program, so I can kind of figure out, how many people there might be. Okay, great. So we'll probably do that like a brown bag, or maybe a lunch will be provided at the Rise of Worship on that Sunday. So I look forward to talking to everybody about that. Thanks.
Go give you a little history. We picked up a basket of buckeyes out here for anybody to get a buckeye. Those 2 trees, I've been in this area for a day or 2, and they've been there. I've never been a year that there hasn't been buckeyes on that tree. And when they tear the church down, probably the buckeye trees will be removed. A bunch of our Quakers came from Ohio originally back in the 1800s, and I'd probably brought those trees with them, or the buckeye with them. And there's an oak tree on the south side of the church there that we put there in '64 when we put the addition on it. It was just a sapling, and that's how big it is today. So, but those buckeye trees, I've been around here almost 90 years, and they were mature that size, and so they could be almost 200 years old. So if you want a buckeye, but don't eat those buckeyes. You're not supposed to eat them, but if you take one home, well, maybe you'll have good luck.
Oh God, this morning we are grateful for family and friends far and near, those who still grace our lives and those who are now gone from us. We remember especially this day our grandparents, and if we are so fortunate, our grandchildren, placing ourselves in the midst of those who've gone before and those who follow, grateful for each. We thank you this morning, O God, for creation and for those who seek to heal it and honor it. Teach us always, O God, to live lightly, not only with one another, but with all your created order. That just as we seek respect and to be respected, so God, do we realize our obligation and duty to be respectful of the world you have created. So God, in our stewardship, make us wise. In our generosity to your created order, make us respectful. That all of life and everyone in it might blossom and flower, might know that they are loved and cherished. O Lord, as we enter in this nation into a time of deciding what kind of people and country we shall be, we ask you, O God, to illuminate the highest and best places and people among us. Save us, O God, from our tendency to denigrate those who think, feel, and believe differently. Help us see in others, O God, your light and presence, and make that light and presence so visible in us that those who know us will know that we love, that we care, that we are committed to a world beyond our own betterment and our own selfish purposes. This is our prayer and our hope this first day morning. Amen. And if we could have some strong and robust people to pick up our food offerings, that would be appreciated.
While they're continuing to pick up the food, I'll say that food sustains us, and people in our meeting often talk about the talented cooks and bakers among us. By way of your offerings, we help to feed people locally and around the world. Fairfield Friends meeting is fed by our relationships, our beliefs, and through our stewardship. Please discern how you can best help the meeting by leaving a check in the offering plates during the meeting at the back of the meeting, or go online to learn where to mail donations and how to donate through PayPal. As I said, this is our welcoming day to Jackson Napier. He is going to, he's entering his last year at Earlham in the Earlham School of Religion, and he's working towards his Master's of Divinity. Now, you talk about somebody that's been around. In the last year, he has been to Poland, Bolivia, and South Africa. So I think we have a very learned person that's going to be our intern, and we're anxious and we welcome you.
Just wait till we take you to AMO.
I don't know about that.
You will.
Good morning, friends. In honor of Grandparents' Day, I'd like to begin this message with a little breathing exercise. So if you're comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes and just center into yourself for a moment and begin to notice your breathing. As you begin to settle into this moment, I invite you to place your hand over your heart and take a moment and bring an ancestor into the room. Maybe it's a grandparent or a great-grandparent. Maybe it's a spiritual ancestor, and just hold them in your mind for a moment. As we contemplate this ancestor, let's find some gratitude for them for helping bring us into this moment together as a gathered body. Thank you, friends. We live in pretty challenging times, and I find group spiritual practices to be very, very helpful for me in getting through the days. At the Earlham School of Religion, we have a student, Lakshmi, who runs Taze worship, and I'm very quickly going to sing a round of Ubi Caritas, and if we were in Taze, we would sing it maybe 10, 20 times. Ubi Caritas et amor. Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est. Live in charity and steadfast love. Live in charity. God will dwell with you. I grew up in a little church in Breathitt County, Kentucky, in eastern Kentucky, and went to Bible camp in the summers and got a very fundamentalist Christian education. And it's been a very healing experience to go to a Quaker Christian seminary in Richmond, Indiana. It's been this back and forth, push and pull, and I am settling into a comfort with my identity as a Christian Quaker, and discerning this leading into pastoral ministry. I'm a member of Berea Friends Meeting in Kentucky. We're an unprogrammed meeting, and in a lot of ways we're similar to a lot of smaller struggling meetings in that we're not pulling in attendance numbers like we used to, and we belong to the Southern Appalachian Yearly Meeting and Association, and it's been a difficult time. It's been a difficult time for us. But in addition to being a Quaker, I'm an Appalachian. I was born in Appalachian in eastern Kentucky, and I come equipped with the scars, trappings, joy, mannerisms, and occasional fatalism to prove it. So please bear with me as I navigate that path. And as a person from eastern Kentucky, I have to do a little bit of ancestral recitation. I'll start with my grandmother on my mother's side. She was a Buckeye. She was from Lindsay, Ohio. She met my grandfather at the Kentucky Mountain Holiness Association. They've got a Bible college there. Her name was Janet, maiden name Milky, and my grandfather was Selden Short Jr., and he was a Methodist minister, but if you asked him, he would much prefer the title preacher. He prayed, he preached, he did funerals and weddings, but I'm not sure how much visitation he did one-on-one. And to be completely honest with you, in this internship and in my course of study, I'm much more interested in the visitations and facilitation of events than giving the message every week. So please bear with me. Somebody asked me to bake bread last week. I'm not sure who you are. I think Anne. Thank you, Anne, for helping me discern what to give the message on today. And the story that called out to me was the feeding of the 5,000 with the loaves and the fish. So I have a very brief scripture reading from John chapter 6. And before I get into the scripture reading, I just want to say, if you know Jesus as a friend, as a stranger, as a redeemer, or somebody you're skeptical of, like, or in between, I can appreciate all of those understandings and relationships, really. And I just want to advocate and say that there is worth in understanding the narratives found in the Gospels as they're written. So this is from John chapter 6, verses 1 through 9. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, and that is the Sea of Tiberias. A great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each to have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, saying, "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will they go among so many?" And for this message today, I want to hone in on the character of the boy. Here we have this unnamed person. They have no speaking lines, and yet without their actions and intents and intent, the miracle performed by Jesus that day wouldn't have been possible. Something I appreciate about this story is this is a classic setup with Jesus and the disciples fulfilling their archetypes. You've got the wise sage of Jesus asking the disciples who are kind of like stooges throughout the Gospels, like, "Hey, how am I going to do this? How is this going to play out? How are we going to feed these 5,000 people?" And you see this setup again and again in the Gospels, and I have so many questions. Like, how did Jesus know about it? And just like, I also have questions about the intent of the boy, because bringing five loaves of bread and fish, it sounds like he brought more than enough food for himself, and he brought it with the desire to share food with others, maybe his friends or family. And it's easy to get lost in the miracle of the multiplication of the fish and loaves, but I think another miracle in this story is the desire to bring food and share it with other people. And I think many of you have brought dishes today, and even if you just partake in the food that has been brought, that is a miracle in and of itself too in this day and age. I was taught to make bread by a man named David, and David Schultz is my uncle's husband. They live in Dallas, Texas, and I went to go live with them when I was a teenager for a couple of years after a really tumultuous time in my life. And they had so much patience with me. I was very vulnerable. I had just gotten out of the hospital, and David was taking time out of his day, essentially, to teach me how to cook for myself, and one of those things was bread. So I've brought with me today, there's another loaf in the kitchen, and I'm aware of the dangers of bringing bread into the lectern in a Quaker church. So please bear with me. This is not communion. It is communal. This is communal bread, but it is not communion bread. I'm not my grandfather. He ran communion a couple of times. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. When I was in Poland last fall, I went for an Alternatives to Violence Project workshop facilitated by Friends Peace Teams, and it was primarily for people from Ukraine. And because of the way things played out, none of the men, of all the men from Ukraine who were invited, they were not allowed to enter into Poland for the workshop. So it was about 30 women from Ukraine, and a few other folks from different nations. And these were teachers, these were social workers, these were therapists. And in one of the exercises we did, AVP does a lot with the concept of transforming power and what that is for each and every individual. And in this workshop we did, there were dozens and dozens of images cut out from magazines, people, animals, places, nature, and we were to each select the image that best represented transforming power for us. And the image I chose for myself was this baker man, and he had this huge basket of loaves, big baguettes. And for me, within that image, it best represented transforming power because as someone from Eastern Kentucky, I really appreciate the ability to feed people and to facilitate dinners and meals and just slow time together. We live in such a fast-paced world, and it just seems like the rate of information only ever increases. So to find time to sit together and break bread is so critical and important and honestly a spiritual practice. So it's my hope that as we have spiritual community here, that we can take that with us when we go and to share that with others. We live in really spiritually lonely times. So that's my hope for us. Thank you all.
Jackson, I think I speak for the whole meeting. We're very anxious and excited about our coming months together. It's time now for our closing hymn. Stand as you're able with the worship and song number 331. And we have a man that's leading us back.
Well, don't forget to stay for lunch. It will be an enjoyable time. Though I must say, Jackson, you kind of had me on the edge there when you whipped out that loaf of bread there for a minute. I thought we were going the way of the Methodists there from a Quaker meeting. My gosh. And then I got to thinking as you were talking about the importance of eating, about what I like so much about motorcycle trips. And Mike Goss and I, a fellow Quaker outlaw, took a 730-mile ride this week over to Ohio and along the Ohio River, and it was just beautiful. And I enjoyed every moment of it, and I was thinking about that trip and why I enjoyed it so much. And it's because on a motorcycle, it is absolutely impossible to eat fast food. You will wreck and die if you eat a hamburger while riding a motorcycle. And so circumstances compel you to pull over, to stop, and to sit at a table with people you like, and to talk, and to share good food, and to rise from that table an hour later and move forward on your journey. Don't ever, friends, dismiss the importance of slow food and the fellowship that comes with it, where we know and we are known. So please stay, whether you have prepared to or not. Please stay and get to know your friends. Turn and greet one another.